please like our video and subscribe to RotoWire. Then go to rotowire.com/pod for a free 10-day trial.
Hey, DFS fans, we haven't forgotten about you. AJ and I, called Bruno the Statsman, are back with your daily fantasy sports picks with our thoughts ahead of tonight's schedule on both DFS formats, DraftKings and FanDuel. AJ, why don't you start us off with your DraftKings picks for tonight's games?
Yeah, absolutely, Paul. I think there's a ton of fun games tonight. One situation that I just want to alert our listeners to is the fact that you're going to want to check the lines for Winnipeg tonight. I think things are going to be shuffled up with Pierre-Luc Dubois coming into action for them. So that's one you're definitely going to want to head over to rotowire.com to check that out. Another thing to check out is to go to Twitter and follow Paul and I for our lineups, which we'll share later today if we run through them a little bit too quickly, or if we have to make any tweaks there. You can follow me, AJ Scholz, at AJ Scholz24, and you can follow Paul the Statsman at Statsman22. In terms of DraftKings, look, I'll start by a quick promo. They're not a sponsor, but just throwing this out there for our listeners. With NFL season over after the Super Bowl, they've got some fun contests they're running across multiple platforms, or sports rather. And so tonight I'll be playing in the NHL 10K micro wrist shot. It's a $2 entry contest and top prize is $1,000. So with that in mind, I have created a GPP heavy lineup and there's a significant trend here. I know it's going to sound very similar to last week, but this lineup is just too good to pass up on. Edmonton playing Ottawa again. So I'm going to continue to ride the Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid train. I will spend up for those two guys as my center. Draisaitl 8,200, McDavid 9,000, and I'll keep rolling. His numbers have been a little bit low, but I'm expecting them to get hot sooner rather than later. And so I'll stick with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins for 6,900 as well. Obviously, that's a lot of money to spend, so you have to find some value at those wing spots. And it starts with Bobby Ryan, 3,600. Detroit is playing Florida tonight, so it's not an easy matchup for them. But Bobby Ryan has just continued to produce for much of the season. Now, Bobby Ryan's definitely a value play, but again, if you're going to go into some of those big guns, you're going to have to find spots to pick at less than $3,000 on DraftKings tonight. I like Mason Appleton. Again, I know Winnipeg's shuffling up the lines, but he's just 2,700, and he's racked up 2 goals in his most recent outing. You look at his last 6 contests, 6 points over that stretch. Now, he doesn't get the power play minutes, and if his minutes are limited playing in a fourth line role, that's obviously a concern. But at less than $3,000, how can you not use a guy that is this hot? And speaking of which, I'm going to go with Matt Nieto for San Jose. They're playing LA tonight, who has really struggled to keep pucks out of the net. Nieto's got 3 goals in his last 6 games. Again, another situation to watch. What are lines going to look like for the Sharks? I think he's pretty well cemented in a bottom 6 role, but you never know if things get shuffled around. He fills my utility spot there. In terms of the defenseman, I'm going back to Edmonton. I'll use Tyson Berry tonight, 5,700. He's my more expensive option there, but a power play guy, kind of pairing him up with those other big guns facing an Ottawa team that has struggled for much of the season. My other defender, admittedly, is a toss-in guy. I needed somebody that was going to play, at least get minutes, and maybe I can get lucky on 2,700 for Dante Fabro. I like what he does with Nashville. They have a tough matchup with Tampa, no doubt about it, but Fabro will at least very certainly be in the top 4 there and could see some added minutes with some injury concerns for them. Finally, I rounded out with the Edmonton netminder to complete my full Oilers stack tonight. Mikko Koskinen, 8,200. I used Mike Smith last night. It worked out well for me. I'm going to continue to ride Edmonton and go with Koskinen, 8,200. That's how I shake things out on DraftKings. Paul, what's your FanDuel lineup look like tonight?
Well, it's a mixed bag, AJ. So I'm going to play it in a couple of different formats tonight and see how it goes. The last time I did that, I hit big, so I'm hoping for a repeat performance. I'm going to start with Florida against Detroit to lean on a couple of players in that matchup. At the top of the board and at the center position, Alexander Barkov, looks like he's getting his game in order. And there's nobody on the Detroit side, save maybe Dylan Larkin, can play with him. And I think Florida's going to do everything they can with last change to keep that matchup from happening. So I'll take him for $7,400. That's a little bit low for Barkov that I remember in pricing him over the years. And that affords me the opportunity to pair him with Leon Draisaitl. I can't stay away from that Ottawa matchup and put the big guy in there as well for $8,200. I won't put McDavid in, obviously, because that's just, in my opinion, I got to spread the roster a little bit, and I don't like having too many third and fourth liners in. So I don't in this matchup at all, in fact, even though I got Draisaitl in there. I went also to the Vegas matchup for a couple of players in a bit of a mini stack there, including a couple of wingers, Jonathan Marchessault for $6,100 and Mark Stone from their top line at $7,700. He's humming right now, so glad to stick him in there. And I also put in Alec Martinez in the defense core, $4,100 for a guy. I think he's going to play first pairing minutes there with the injury to Pietrangelo. He's afforded maybe even a look on the special teams there. So it's a bit of an unexpected bonus for me if that happens. Then I partner him with Keith Yandel, who is an underrated defenseman when you look at the top scoring blue liners. AJ, $4,400 for him in a tasty matchup against the Detroit Red Wings that were on the road tonight. I finish up my winger compliment with Denis Gurianov. Fans of this segment know that I'm a big fan of Gurianov in DFS play, and why not? He's averaging 15.5 points per outing over his 9 starts, and I get him for $5,700 and figures to get some chances against the Chicago defense that looks a little bit suspect to me. Andrew Kopp is a guy that's getting first-line minutes in Winnipeg. I round out the complement of my forwards by sticking him in there. He's playing alongside Scheifele, and he's rewarding me to the tune of 14.5 points per outing. I get him in there every chance I get, as long as he's playing first-line minutes. $4,300, heck of a price tag to play alongside Scheifele. I look for a reward there. And I spent a lot of money up front, so I went on the cheap in the nets. I flipped a coin, and it came up Jonathan Quick in the late game against San Jose. I don't like Marty Jones' game at the moment. Quick's not much better, but I think at home he's got to be feeling a little more comfortable than the visitors tonight, just for sleeping in his own bed, let's say. And I hope that tilts the scales in his favor for a rare positive outing for him. So I'll be staying up late to see if I get the goalie win tonight, AJ. Any thoughts then before we sign off, partner?
No, I think, again, just, keep an eye on those line combinations. And that's really the best way to kind of find these low-cost guys that get bumped up to a top 6 role playing with some better talent. So check rotowire.com for those line combinations, and we'll have all those up to date as soon as we have them from the guys that are on the ground, the boots on the ground covering the team. We cover them, and we get those line combinations for you.
So what you're saying is Andrew Kopp's a good pick?
I do think so. I mean, it's a low-cost guy, first-line role. Hard to beat that. That's for sure.
There you go. I feel better already, AJ. I wish our listeners good luck with your picks. Join us again next Tuesday for the following episode of Puckcast with Statsman and AJ. So long, everybody.